Hi there, this is Amit Bhandari of TalkCondo.com, and today we're at Humber Bay in the Future Presentation Center for Phoenix Condominiums by Empire Communities. And we're actually sat with Dan Floman, who's the Executive Vice President of Empire Communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. It's an office that's under construction. I appreciate you coming here, getting your suit all dirty.
No, I know.
We got the fireplace turned on,
I know.
at least.
At least we have that.
Well, we got construction in the back, construction in the front, so it's a little bit noisy, but I'm really glad you took time out to come down here.
We're really excited to see once it's all complete and everything, because the space is incredible. So Dan, I wanted to obviously talk to you about Phoenix Condos, but before that, I wanted to talk about Empire Communities, because as a developer, you've got a phenomenal portfolio right across Ontario. I don't know if there's really any place that you've left untouched.
Let me stop you there. From Niagara Falls to Scarborough, from Kitchener, Waterloo to Hamilton, to Brantford, one of our flagship. We've built tens of thousands of houses, and then in Toronto, we've sold thousands and thousands of condos. In fact, just down the street, we built a project called Beyond the Sea, which has almost 900 units. You're sitting in the former sales office of Eau de Soleil, which is a 1,280 unit building in two towers, a 67-story and a 50-story tower combined by a podium. And Eau de Soleil is the tallest building on the water in Canada, 67 stories with a huge mechanical penthouse. And then in Toronto, we've built at Yonge and Finch. We've built, again, in Scarborough. We've built downtown, the Modern at Sherbourne, on Sherbourne. So we have a lot of experience building condos within Toronto and houses throughout Ontario. Fantastic. And it's important to know that we are our own builder.
I was just going to touch on that.
It's important to know that one of the big things is we don't rely on a general contractor to come in after the fact. We do our own excavation, we do our own construction, so that we know all of our costs and all of our product and all of our finishes going in. We don't rely on a third party to come in and do any of that. So we have a good understanding going in of what the final product is going to be, and we're able to build to that final product.
And that goes way back historically as well, as I understand.
Well, Empire's been around for 25 years. This is actually our 25th anniversary. But before Empire, the founder's father founded a company called York Excavation, one of the largest excavators in Ontario, doing everything from Skydome to major buildings throughout the city, to Scotia Tower. So very, very large projects. So the owners all come from, let's say, a second generation of people in the industry. And even some of us senior executives. My late father was one of the largest electrical contractors in Canada, commercial electrical contractors in Canada. So we all have a background and a real understanding of construction and our jobs, be it finance or accounting.
So it's in your blood.
It's in our blood.
Amazing.
Can't get rid of it.
I know. So you touched on a couple of projects, major projects. We're literally behind, like you said, the biggest waterfront towers in Canada.
Yes.
And I believe it's only halfway up right now, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
right now.
When you look up, you can't believe how tall it's going to be.
I know, and so the scope and magnitude of this, and then the other previous towers that you mentioned as well, Beyond the Sea. So you've got a lot of expertise, experience building within this neighborhood.
Absolutely. We are probably one of the largest builders in this sort of Mimico, Humber Bay, Mystic Point area. And that leads us to our project called Phoenix.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually, just to pause on the project itself, I wanted to just very quickly touch on the neighborhood, because I think we actually came to know about Humber Bay and Mystic Point and Mimico, I think in maybe 2009, where we were helping a resale client. He wanted to purchase, and we thought back then, wow, this is sort of like a hidden gem in Toronto, where you don't really have a whole bunch of residential buildings. You cross the street and you're right at Lake Ontario.
Well, it's funny. Mystic Point is near and dear to my heart. I've been working with the Mystic Point community since 2004, so it's been a long time. This is where you're supposed to say you don't look that old, but thank you. A little too late on that one. So I've been 14 years working within the Mystic Point community. And I love it. It's a pocket within the area that is so secluded. For example, there's two parks right there. You can see Lake Ontario from there, but you don't have a lot of the major traffic that you have in other areas. Because unless you really live in Mystic Point, you're not going to go into the Mystic Point community. Now things are slightly going to change, because one of the things that is going to change over time is there's two roads. One is called Legion Road South and one is called Legion Road North. And they don't meet. And they don't meet for a specific reason. There was railway tracks in the distance. Yep. The money has been allocated by the city to now connect the two roads. It'll take several years, but now you'll be able to go from the Mystic Point community straight down to Lakeshore to jump onto the Martin Goodman Trail, the 100 kilometers of trails. So you won't have to go all the way around.
All the way around.
You'll have a direct access. That alone will add so much value to this community,
for sure.
Be it the existing
100%.
condos that make up it and the future ones that we're going to be building. It'll be such a huge asset to the residents, be it the owners, the tenants, just for walking, just for biking, just for rollerblading. You can't see it now, but there's people rollerblading up and down the streets here. So now they'll be able to rollerblade from there straight down here without having to drive down here. Huge asset.
No, amazing. And accessibility is such a big deal. Especially because of the way it has always been with that disconnect because of the railway tracks. But this, I 100% agree. From an investment standpoint, I think investors, their future tenant, that everybody stands to gain from this. I wanted to talk about the neighborhood on a grander scale now as well, because we touched on it a little bit, but there's been a lot of changes within the neighborhood itself.
Tremendous.
Retail especially. Before, I remember way back when, 2009, 2010, there wasn't really much life other than just condo buildings after condo building after condo building. But we've seen transformation.
Right.
I wanted to get from your perspective, because considering you're building one of the biggest developments here, you've already built other developments in the past. You've seen what it was in the past. I'm very curious to hear your take on where you see it going into the future, this specific pocket.
It's interesting because when I first started working here, there was virtually no retail. There was one restaurant even down here. Now we've got multiple restaurants. Great shopping, new businesses coming into the area. The Queensway, which is a stone's throw away from the Phoenix development, it's going to be packed full of newer retail. There's still some big boxes. You still have the Costco's, but you've got some beautiful little butcher shops and quaint restaurants walking distance from the Mystic Point community, which is such an amazing thing to have. But also, you're only a 20-minute ride to downtown Toronto. So for those people that don't want to live and work in the downtown core, this is a great sort of option for them. You also don't necessarily feel like you're in the city when you're in this area. You've got a lot of greenery, a lot of trees, and again, you've got the lake right here. And that's incredible.
I always tell my parents, because this is sort of an area that we've sort of suggested to them, and the way that I've always put it is it's like you're always on vacation.
Oh, yes, it's amazing. in the summer especially, to walk around down here is magnificent. But even in the winter, on a nice day, it's stunning. It's stunning down here.
Even the views you get on a clear day, the views that you get of
spectacular,
downtown,
spectacular.
CN Tower, the changing postcard.
Well, there's water everywhere around here. That's another advantage. It's not like, the water, to see the water, I've got to look through a bunch of buildings and I've got to walk down there. Here, the water is everywhere.
Yeah, wonderful. So exciting. So I wanted to now transition over to this project itself,
Sure.
Phoenix Condos, which actually is not too far from here.
Nope.
So you're going to get wonderful views. You're not going to miss out on any of that. What can you tell us about Phoenix?
Okay, so Phoenix, we spent a lot of time designing a building that would both suit the neighborhood as well as the buyers that we know that are going to move into here. And what I mean by that is it's a 499-unit project with two towers. There's a 29-story and a 10 or 11-story tower connected by a podium. But on the lower part of the podium are two-story, what I'm calling garden units. They're not really a townhome, but it's a two-story house with its own front door out. And they will wrap around the whole perimeter of the building. This building will not have any retail at the base. It's very important to know that. It's a pure residential community. Okay, what does the building have itself? It's got everything you would want in a building. First of all, two sides of the building face onto parkland. Right. To one side of the building, and for lack of a better word, we'll call it the south side, in the distance, you've got Lake Ontario. So from, let's say, the 8th floor and up, not only are you overlooking a park, but then you've got these great vistas of Lake Ontario. On the 4th floor, we've got a beautiful infinity pool that overlooks the park.
Amazing.
Which is going to be stunning. But what makes this pool different is it's a pool that you would see in Las Vegas or Miami. So you've got a waiting area of maybe 8 inches of water, so you can sit there, sit on your chair there, and then you've got the drop down to, let's say, 4 feet. So you get that real Miami, Vegas experience in this building.
Amazing.
Of course, you'll have an amazing gym and you'll have a wonderful party WeWork open concept area. You'll have all the things you want in, let's say, a downtown building here, but with the added advantage of you walk out your door and you're on a park. You want to walk your dog. There's a great dog run area. It will be a pet-friendly building also.
Sure.
And one of the key components about buying here is there will be parking available for every single unit in the building, even the smallest units,
Amazing.
which start in the low 300s.
Fantastic.
So you'll have parking with all of those
Actually,
units.
can you talk to us a bit about pricing? Because I know that's...
It's completely confidential, but since it's you, I'll tell you a little about pricing. So if I was going to say an average of the totality of the project, you'd be looking around $775 a foot, parking and locker included.
Yeah.
Which is the game changer there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll have your 9-foot ceilings, and you're going to have all of the beautiful things that make up these buildings. We do have some lower floor units with 8.5-foot ceilings, and the price will be adjusted accordingly for those ones. But the reality is, between an 8.5 and a 9-foot ceiling, you know what? You're really going to not notice it that much if you're 5'6" like me.
Of course. Well, Dan, this is incredibly exciting, especially, I mean, the things that we've touched on, its location, the future extension of Legion Road, how it'll connect Mystic Point to Mimico to Humber Bay, making the project accessible. Of course, we talked about how easy it is to get to and from the project itself, 20-minute from Mississauga, 20-minute from downtown Toronto.
Equidistance, I should say, to Mississauga.
You're going to have walking distance to fantastic retail.
I should also mention that if you do have people that are looking at it as an investment, the vacancy rate in sort of this area is less than 0.5% for new condos. So I don't foresee anybody having a vacant condo.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's becoming a very popular neighborhood to live in.
Well, you get a lot of young professionals living here. Back maybe about 15 years ago or 20 years ago, it catered to an older crowd. Now it's completely shifted over the opposite way. It caters to everybody, but it really does great things with young urban professionals.
Amazing. Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time talking about Phoenix Condos.
And I thank you for
We're
coming
really
in
excited. We're
this
really
loud
excited.
environment.
Yeah. One final thing. So if any of our investor clients are interested, what would they need to do?
Well, I think first they need to call you.
Wonderful. Awesome.
No, you know what, the reality is you're one of the top brokers in the city. We're obviously giving you special access to suites within the project. Both units that will be great investment and great places to live in.
Absolutely.
And I think the first thing that they should do is contact you, you'll contact me, and we'll make a marriage, as they say. We'll put them together in the best unit that suits them for the reasons that they're purchasing.
Amazing. Dan, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.